Famcast Media, bitch.
Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, persons of all ages, welcome to the most exclusive group in the wrestling community. And now, your hosts, first, from Guadalajara, Puerto Rico, Macho Rodriguez, and his tag team partner from New Brunswick, Canada, God's gift, Tyler.
¿Cómo estamos, mi gente? Welcome to another edition of Must Love Wrestling. This is our Royal Rumble special episode, as Tyler and I will be giving our thoughts on previous Royal Rumbles. We'll also be giving you our predictions on tonight's show and where we think all of these wins and losses will lead us. Tyler, how are you doing today?
Doing all right. Just a little cold going on, but other than that, we got some nice lemon cough drops, and we're all right.
Sounds good to me, man. I mean, that's good that you were able to come on here and power through. Before we get started, I think we should talk about the elephant in the room. What are you thinking?
I don't see it.
Well,
yeah,
as
definitely.
By the Wall Street Journal, Vince McMahon is once again in hot water as he is being sued for sex trafficking. And this is a pretty interesting development, but apparently there are more details out there that we want to share that we would not like to share on our podcast. But what I will say is that if Vince is guilty of any of these things, then I've said this before and I'll say it again, he should be erased from WWE the same way they erased the 2004 Royal Rumble winner. Now, I think it's a little bit harder to do that because the greatest feud in wrestling history is Austin McMahon. I mean, it wins every poll ever. It's the number one feud. He's considered the greatest heel of all time. What he meant to professional wrestling is super important, but we're not going to come on here and shame the victim.
But ultimately, it's not important at all if this is true, because that doesn't even matter. It's so far beyond. Like, this is the worst thing I could think to be accused of.
Mm-hmm. I agree. There are some pretty explicit text messages out there, and it's pretty harsh.
Yes, there are.
I will say, right off the bat, when I saw all of this, my immediate reaction was, oh man, they just won't leave Vince alone. This is just another thing. But there are some people that I trust on the Twitterverse that have stated that this is only the beginning. That what the worst part of it hasn't even happened yet. There are former WWE superstars that right now have been labeled anonymous, but they are siding with those, stating that we're just getting the beginning of the details, and if this goes to trial, we will get much more.
Right. One thing I heard was this is the tip of the iceberg, because we don't even really know what Ashley Massaro, former Diva Search winner who unfortunately took her own life, what she went through in the company. Apparently it's quite bad, but we don't know the details, and apparently we maybe will sooner rather than later.
Yeah. It sucks, man. I mean, we're at a stage where we thought this was over. But to me, there were a couple things that stuck out, and I wanted to kind of say them to you to see what you thought about them. One of them was, this is very indicative to me as to why Stephanie left. because once Vince started getting accused of everything, she left the company. She left the wrestling business altogether. She took an indefinite leave of absence. That to me was pretty eye-opening. You know, she was
So,
such an integral part of the on-screen show, and now she's just gone.
so do you think that's because she had knowledge of it and she wanted to distance herself, or because she didn't and she just couldn't be there?
Well, I look at it this way. Have you ever seen Yellowstone?
Yeah.
Okay, you know when Beth, after Jamie tells her about the train station,
Yeah.
okay, and she confronts her dad, and he tells her where the train
Hmm.
station is. I'm
Yeah.
kind of thinking that's what happened. That she
Okay.
went to her dad, asked how much of it was true, and he couldn't back it down.
Right.
And that's when she decided to leave and distance herself. So once she found out that all of this is happening, she left the company. I find it very interesting that we're getting reports that this was why Shane McMahon had left so many times. That to me was pretty eye-opening too, because I guess the report states that they tried to pull Shane into this stuff, and he's not that person. Now, I'm not
Right.
saying Shane isn't a narcissist or whatever he did, but it also speaks to why um why so many negative stories were put out there about Shane, almost like, you
Right.
know, like it just doesn't make any sense. For years, it seemed people seemed so happy, and then all of a sudden it was like all of this negative stuff about Shane McMahon. And I just was like, that's just so weird. It came out of nowhere, but it's
Well,
not necessarily anything. Go ahead.
and if you think about it, when Shane returned at the Rumble, and then he was fired, like, or whatever,
Mhm.
who did he have the biggest issues with? It was Brock Lesnar and Vince McMahon.
Yeah, I guess we should jump right onto that. As many of you know, there's probably no bigger Brock Lesnar fan than I. Been, representing this man, whether wearing his T-shirt or talking about how my love of what he means to professional wrestling. I've even made such comments as, had he stayed and never left to the Minnesota Vikings in the UFC, he probably is the greatest of all time. And there are a lot of professional wrestlers that feel the same way. Kurt Angle's actually said the same thing before. Bret Hart has said the same thing before. He was one of those special in-ring talents. The report also states that there was an involvement of a former UFC heavyweight champion who is also a WWE superstar, and there's only two people that fit that description. One of them being Cain Velasquez, but he was there for a hiccup, and the other one being Brock Lesnar.
Hmm.
Now,
I wonder,
um,
though, because he was only there for a hiccup.
yes. Now, what I will say, um, that is very interesting to me, and I'm not trying to sit here and defend Lesnar for anything. I hope this doesn't come off that way. If he is involved in this, then he should rot in hell, just like Vince should. But what I will say is, I made this comment to you. Uh, I made this comment to you earlier today. Brock Lesnar is kind of outspoken about his defense of women. If you go back to his book in Death Clutch, there's a special chapter on his wife Sable and her leaving the company in '04 and what he was worried about. Um, so this is a pretty interesting development here. This might be news. I don't know what this is. This is from the Dungeon. Says, I don't think Brock Lesnar did anything at all. It said it was sent. They sent him videos and pictures. So what I'm is that meaning that he knew that this was going on and didn't do anything about it? That actually speaks to that chapter in Death Clutch, because he actually says that he thought that Rena was in danger of leaving the company, which is pretty eye-opening. So I don't know how much involvement he carries or how much
So I
things like
think
that.
like the
Sounds like
comment, what the comment is saying is like he didn't really do anything. This woman sent him, like she texted him or whatever, but I don't know. It's hard to.
Yeah, it's hard without the information. I mean, we're just scratching the surface here. I can't imagine that someone like him or Cain Velasquez is involved to this nature. Cain Velasquez literally killed somebody who molested a family member. That happened.
Did he actually kill them or did he try to kill them?
Well, yeah, he tried. But that's
I
what
thought
I
it was
mean.
like
Like,
attempted murder. Yeah.
yeah. So I mean, I can't imagine this is just one of those really strange things, and
I
it's
think,
very,
but
very odd to me.
I think whoever it is, once they accepted the text messages and decided to use their position to you know do whatever, they become complicit.
Mm. Agreed. If you did nothing about it, then you're just as much, you know, you're just as much a part of this as anybody else. He probably should
Yeah,
have
just because
done something.
you didn't start the fire, if you're sitting there pouring gas on it, you know.
Yeah. Well, I think that's all we're really going to say about that. We just kind of wanted to speak our piece. We gave you a good 10
Yeah,
minutes of it. Now we're just going to get
it's
on to some fun stuff.
all the
Yeah,
information we really have at this point. So until we
absolutely.
get more, then we'll definitely, we're not going
Talk
to
more
protect these
about it.
people.
Mm-mm.
We're not going to
Absolutely
protect these
not.
people, and we're gonna support the victims here.
Agreed.
Um, but yeah, it is Royal Rumble Day, and we
We're
are
going to
here as a
talk about our
distraction.
shit. Yeah.
So
So,
yeah,
why don't we start with tonight's Rumble, and then we can kind of wrap the show talking about our favorite moments in the past. So, it is being reported that the order of the matches are as followed. As per usual, the Women's Royal Rumble is opening the show. We are followed by the Fatal Four Way, the United States Championship match, and then the Men's Royal Rumble. So let's start with the Women's Royal Rumble. Tyler, do you have any surprises that you believe will show up? Do you have any who you think is going to win? And why don't we use a superlative here? Why don't you tell me who the MVP of tonight's Rumble will be?
sure. All right. I don't know that they. I don't know if I qualify them as surprises because they're not from outside the company, but they haven't been around in a while. I think we could see both Alexa Bliss and Liv Morgan
Okay,
tonight.
sounds good.
Um, the MVP. Let's see. I think for an MVP, I'll go with Bailey.
Okay,
And for a winner, I have said Becky Lynch all along, so
all right.
I'll stick with it.
All right. From the Dungeon believes that CM Punk and Bailey will be the winners of the men's and women's Royal Rumble. So here's what I'm going to say. Surprises. I believe that my surprise for this evening is also going to be the MVP of this evening. I believe tonight we will get the in-ring debut for Jade Cargill, and I believe that this is
I
the
didn't think about
perfect
that.
situation for her, and that will make her the MVP. She will possibly eclipse something about 7 eliminations, and they'll make her look really good. She'll possibly get eliminated by somebody like my winner tonight, which is Nia Jax. Now, I know I'm just speaking this storyline to existence. I've said it on our audio version of the podcast. I've said it on Working the Marks. I believe that this is the best way to protect Becky. It's also the best way to protect Bailey. And that is by having Nia win the match tonight for her to challenge Rhea Ripley because she wants to embarrass her in her home country. And then you have Becky win the Elimination Chamber that night. As the professor likes to say on the Biconics, I'm going to borrow his catchphrase. If it makes sense, it won't happen. So this is one of those things that just makes sense, and obviously the WWE won't do that. That is
What
kind of how I feel.
if? What if? Because I think we're leaning towards Becky versus Rhea at Mania, and also Bailey versus Io, right? Is that what we're
Mhm.
thinking?
Yes, especially last
What?
night after the Kabuki Warriors win in celebration, and how they
Yeah.
barely let Bailey be a part of the celebration.
What if we could pull a little 1994 Rumble with Bailey and Becky?
That would be good. I mean, there is reports coming from Zero News that there is a possibility of a unsure winner of the Royal Rumble, and they weren't
Oh,
specific
I
as to
hadn't
the
seen
men
that. I
or
was
women.
just being.
So that would actually be very cool. We will talk about the 94 Rumble when we're done here.
Yeah, it's a
Because
fun
that is
show.
one of my favorite moments. Absolutely love it. Love the fact that Brett has a Rumble win. So why don't we, since we gave our predictions for the women's Royal Rumble, why don't we jump into the Fatal Four Way? We'll just follow the card in the way it's constituted. Tyler, what do you see happening in the Fatal Four Way?
I can't get it on camera.
Hmm.
I mean, obviously Roman retains. I
Mhm.
pitched this. I pitched a finish on Working the Marks the other night that I think would be great because it would get Roman heat. It would keep everyone else strong. Where
Mhm.
Orton hits the RKO, but he can't capitalize, and Roman falls on top of like LA Knight and gets the pin. They did
Agreed.
that with Cena back in 07 Backlash with HBK hits the super kick, but he falls down, and Cena I think falls on top of, I think it was Edge,
Mhm.
and gets the pin. And that's when everyone was starting to be like, oh, we're sick of Cena, blah blah blah. And that's kind of the same thing that Roman seems to be experiencing with a lot of fans now.
Yeah,
So
I don't
why not add
understand.
heat to it?
Yeah, I like that from the dungeon. Keep the title on until next year. I'm a fan of that. I'm a fan of that entirely. So
Yeah, I would say I don't care if they do that as long as it's not Cody that's being sacrificed at Mania.
agreed. So in this match, I believe that this is how it goes. I believe that, I mean, I think it's pretty obvious. The Bloodline gets involved. Solo, Jimmy Uso, they get involved, and they, I believe it's kind of what you said. Probably Randy hits an RKO, and it is on possibly AJ Styles because he could take the loss. And then I believe that he gets pulled out from the ring before the ref can count the three, and Roman covers AJ Styles for the pin. AJ's the one guy that he's kind of got that Shawn Michaels quality that it doesn't matter how much he loses, he's always going to be great. So that's why I feel like it has to be AJ to take the loss tonight. Orton's not going to take the loss because they don't want him to lose this early. And I don't believe that LA Knight will take the loss because I believe a second straight loss to Roman Reigns will actually hurt him and that'll push him
Yeah,
further down the card.
would devalue him a little bit. On the subject of AJ, I agree with you that he's always going to be great no matter what. But
Mhm.
the more he loses, do you still take him as seriously as you did when he came in, as far as being a contender?
Yeah, because I believe that he could lose
Okay.
10 matches in a row and he's got that like to give him another great to compare him to another great. I believe he's just like Seth. He could spend the next 13 pay-per-views losing and then he could win the WWE championship and it could be like, yep, yeah, that makes sense. It's AJ Styles.
Okay.
Like that's kind of how I feel about him. It would be funny if the OC got involved somehow and they wind up actually costing AJ Styles the match, and that leads to a triple threat match between the three at WrestleMania. That would be pretty interesting.
Okay. Yeah.
Yep. So let's move on to one of the most underrated matches of the evening, a match that has had a amazing build. Both guys have gone all out to make each other look really good, and that is Logan Paul, the United States champion, versus Kevin Owens. I have been pleasantly surprised with all of the work that they have put into this. Their backstage segments, Logan Paul's promo with his black eye, Kevin Owens promo, their training at the facility and wind up like going at it. Everything about this feud has been, I mean, it has just been great. There's no complaints whatsoever for me.
Yeah. I love it when they do those behind the scenes things like at the Performance Center because it just makes it feel
Yes,
so much more real.
absolutely. I agree with you there. That was really great. So what do you think here? They're obviously going to put on a great match. It's hard to pick an MVP between the match here, but why don't you just tell me, who you think goes over?
I think it's probably too soon for Logan to lose it. So he probably retains. KO's another one who's not really hurt by losing
Mhm.
because he's just that damn good.
Yep.
So yeah, I think Logan wins probably. There's probably a shenanigan or two, and there's a distraction, and he hits him with that one lucky punch or whatever he calls it, and gets the win.
I like that. I'm agreeing with you here. I actually believe that we will get an outside involvement between Sami Zayn and Jake Paul. That's just it's the Royal Rumble. We go big or we go home. We set up WrestleMania the right way. And I wouldn't be surprised if we have KO and Sami Zayn in another tag team match against the Paul brothers at WrestleMania. I think that would be, that'd be super great. I don't know how good Jake is. It looks like he's just specifically a boxer, and he actually looks really small compared to professional wrestlers, but he's still big. And I wouldn't be surprised if we get something like that. Paul brothers versus, El Generico and Kevin Steen. I think that would be great. So,
what if they did that, but put the title on the line for whoever got the pin? That would be even add another extra layer.
Absolutely. Any way to get anything on Sami Zayn would be amazing because I think Sami deserves everything. I've said this. I think I said it last month. I'm going to continue to say it. I'm going to rock with it. So when we get to Money in the Bank, I just want people to know I made my prediction like in December. But Sami Zayn is winning the Money in the Bank. It's just that clear, just that serious. Get over it, people. He's going to be World Heavyweight Champion before the end of 2024. Moving on to the main event of the evening, the Men's Royal Rumble. I believe that this match will live up to the hype. I believe we're going to get tons of surprises, tons of wrestlers coming back, possibly some legends. What I'm thinking is that I think that some surprises are going to be Hulk Hogan in the Royal Rumble. I think that is going to be something that happens tonight. That was the tease the other night. I believe that Big E will be in the Royal Rumble. I think this will be his return. That one kind of makes me nervous because people are so behind him that I feel like he can get that like Kofi Kingston, Daniel Bryan treatment where fans were just so happy he's back that they only want him to win. Yeah, I believe those are the two surprises. My MVP of the Royal Rumble will be Mr. Jey Uso. I believe he will be the MVP of this year's Royal Rumble. And then I believe the winner will be CM Punk. I can't see them going another way. Now that we know that the Sports Illustrated was a fake leak and the guy has since apologized for leaking that information, now we know that the regular plans are in place, which would pit CM Punk versus Seth Rollins at WrestleMania. And I can't see how they don't do that. Macho, you better stop smoking what you're smoking. Sammy will never be World Heavyweight Champion. Is there a way to pin this? Because I would really, really like to pin it.
What's in the YouTube comments? So we can just go back to the Royal Rumble episode.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I agree. So Tyler, I've given you my MVP. I've given you my surprises and my winner. Your turn.
All right. I'm not going to lie. It's going to be really hard if despite everything, if Real American hits and Hulk Hogan walks out to the ring, it's going to be hard not to mark out for just a second.
Mm-hmm.
And then you realize, oh yeah, and then you realize, oh yeah, he's an asshole.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
But man, that would be a shock to me. The Big E thing, I think I agree with because I know he was asked again this week about a comeback, and to be honest, if you're gonna do it, this is the time, this is the match to do it in because there's so much else going on to protect you that he doesn't have to do that much. And if that's the case, the right way to do it would be just have him get down towards the end. Like, remember when Edge came back and he got down to the final 3?
That would be great.
And nobody was really mad that he didn't win because we were like, holy shit, Edge is back. And they were happy with the winner with Drew. So again, if it's like a situation like that where, it comes down and it's like Cody, Big E, and Punk, I think we'll be fine. Or Cody, Drew, and Punk, or Drew, Big E, and Punk, or whatever. I think we'll be all right. I think my MVP is gonna be Drew McIntyre.
Okay. I like that.
I'll come up with my own surprise here. Apropos of nothing, I don't have this as inside information. I haven't spoken to the man in a couple of weeks, and we didn't discuss it. But I think we could walk with Elias for a few minutes tonight.
Okay.
Only reason I say that is because he is local and it's in St. Pete.
Okay.
And he doesn't seem to be signed anywhere else on a long-term deal.
All right. Well, that would be pretty cool. A lot of Elias fans out there.
Yeah, I could see that music hit, and there's a pop, and he comes out, and he's in for like 5 minutes. That kind of thing. And I don't want to pick the same winner as you guys, just because that's boring, right? I mean, I think Punk's going to win, but I must say Gunther.
Okay. All right. Well, that is a report coming out. Gunther is the new favorite, but I was trying to look here to see if the odds actually favor that, but it seems like he's tied with CM Punk for the. So we'll see. Go ahead.
Both those segments on Raw, if they decided to go that way because of those segments, I could not blame them because they were both stellar.
Yeah, that's true. I mean, but those also could be segments and storylines that we lead to after WrestleMania. Sometimes we tease months in advance. Another surprise, I believe, that will happen tonight. I think the reports are stating out there we will get Naomi will be in the Women's Royal Rumble.
Oh, yeah.
That is something.
I didn't think about that.
Yeah, don't want to forget that. She is done with TNA, and obviously with the Vince news and him being completely gone from TKO Endeavor and WWE, I feel like Naomi will just another reason for her to come back. So why don't we wrap the show talking about our favorite Royal Rumble moments? So Tyler, why don't we have talked the other day on Working the Marks about our favorite Royal Rumbles, but let's share it with our audience. What is your favorite Royal Rumble match?
So I said on the show, I said 97. You had already said 92. Obviously 92 is up there. That's something I wanted to say then is like, I think 2 all-time greats put in one of their best performances ever on that night with Bobby Heenan on commentary and Ric Flair in the Rumble. I think that's arguably one of the best performances for, not arguably in Heenan's case, it was maybe his best performance ever. In Flair's case, it may be arguable, but I think the fact that he lasted as long as he did and comes out and wins the title and cuts that just amazing promo afterwards. It's
still one of the most famous promos in wrestling history. Just a tear in his eye.
A tear in my eye.
That's just, I mean, that is as famous as Dusty Rhodes promo. It's as famous as Austin 316. I mean, these promos, it's as famous as Shawn Michaels Montreal. It is.
Yeah.
It is it's as famous as the pipe bomb with CM Punk. I mean, these promos are phenomenal. I think that they all kind of feel the same way. The Piper promo with Jericho in the ring, John Cena just completely ripping Roman Reigns, telling him that he has to learn how to do a promo. I mean, these things are just spectacular.
Yeah, I hate that. But
What do you mean? You
I hate that he does. I hate that he does that to young stars.
He did it to The Rock.
He did it to. Well, he did do it to The Rock, but he did it to Roman, and he did it to Theory to a degree last year, and I just don't think that helps anybody.
It helped Roman.
Did it? I don't think anything helped
surpassed
Roman until he came back as this guy.
I suppose. He was always the guy, by the way. He was always the guy. The moment he won the Rumble, he was the guy.
I want to talk about that actually for a second.
Mhm.
So I think we can all agree. In 2014, had Roman Reigns won the Royal Rumble, we would have marked the hell out because Batista won and nobody wanted that.
Yes.
So a year later, they give us that, essentially what we wanted or close to what we wanted.
Mhm.
And we're all mad. But I think the reason is because they made it so obvious. Like, he's down to the end, and it's Roman, Big Show, and Kane. Gee, I wonder who's going to friggin' win that.
But what you're describing is that you're just describing that they do it a year earlier, which is essentially what all Daniel Bryan fans, me being one of them, but I wasn't really one of these Rumble guys that freaked out. But that's essentially what people wanted. They were unhappy with Batista winning the Rumble, and they preferred Roman. That's exactly what happened the next year. They were unhappy with Roman winning the Rumble, and they wanted a Rusev. I mean, that's kind of how it works. Like, the fans during that era of professional wrestling were probably at the all-time worst.
You don't think they are now?
No. I think wrestling fans have kind of either left. I believe that all of the diehards are still around, and I believe that the people that jump on TikTok and Twitter and shit like that, they're all casuals. They just jump in. They're new fans. It's like the people that say, I became a Tampa Bay Bucks fan when Tom Brady went there. And then they're like, I'm just riding with Tampa Bay now because, I rooted for them after Tom left. Like, that's kind of what I feel about new wrestling fans. Like, yeah, that's fine. I enjoy the fact that wrestling's out there, but
it's a great time to be a wrestling fan.
Yeah, it's an absolute great time. Women's wrestling is at its peak, especially in this company and in TNA. We have such great talent. It's a lot like the NBA, where the talent is just so crazy good. Let's think about this for a second before we move on to talking about our favorite moments. Think about the fact that right now in WWE, some of the wrestlers that are kept at the bottom, and it's not because they're not good, and it's not because they can't be good, but some of the guys that are hidden in WWE right now are like Ricochet, because there's just nothing you could do with them.
There's only so many spots.
Exactly. That's where we are in pro wrestling right now. That is why AEW is so important, because it gives opportunities to people that aren't there. Now, the one thing that was actually pointed out to me by someone recently, I was having a conversation with on my route about wrestling, was I was kind of complaining about how I hate that AEW doesn't want to use homegrown talent and they keep using the WWE guys. And you know what he said to me, Tyler? Which I don't think you or me or Patty or Fernando or D has ever said. He said, why do you think that is? And I was like, because they just can't come up with original shit. And he said, no, because a lot of their guys aren't trained enough. A lot of their guys aren't ready for the spotlight. So if these guys from WWE that have thousands of hours on TV, thousands of hours in the ring, why not use these guys over these green boys? And I seriously I was like floored, because I was like, holy shit, like that is such a professional way to look at wrestling instead of looking at it as like an angry fan. And I was like, dude,
I do agree with that.
My eyes.
Yeah, I do agree with that, because if you listen to all these podcasts with people that have been in the business, one thing they talk about is it's different wrestling on TV, on live TV, than it is anything else. So
Yeah.
guys like Hangman, who's great, but he didn't have any experience working on live TV.
Nope.
I mean, he's grown so much in these 4 or 5 years to be the star that he is today. Yeah, and that's one thing I was thinking about too with regards to TNA, because I know we talked about on Working the Marks that TNA and AEW might be the real competition, but the only thing is, I don't think TNA can win that competition because they don't have live TV.
I agree.
I watched their show this week and I thought it was really good, but it still feels different.
Yeah, I agree. I just, it's one of those things where it feels to me like WWE has, and we're not talking about the actual product we're seeing, but what they've trained their superstars to be ready for live television, to be ready for that type of environment. So when a guy like, Adam Copeland goes over, he knows where the hard cam is. He knows where to lay when you're doing a pin. Because if you notice, a lot of guys, like, now I'm starting to dissect it and I'm starting to go back and like think about some old AEW. There are so many times where guys are being pinned and you can't even see the wrestler's face that's pinning them because they're not even in the right angle to make television good. And it's not just them either. It's the people behind the cameras, because it's the producers of the matches and it's the people behind the camera. Because if you look at it, like we were talking about this the other day, I was talking about it with Adolfo, a guy that I know from work from the Biconics. He was talking to me, and he actually said that there was a really great spot during the Collision match last week where Brian put someone in a surfboard. Well, that was in picture instead of being on the actual live show. Well, why don't you have that be on the live show? Why would you have that in picture? Why would you not tell the guy he's working, hey, don't do that move right now, or wait until we're back live, I'll let you know. That is just like, that's just bad producing.
They may not know, but they also may not know what they're going to do, because sometimes it's called, in the ring. Brian seems like the type to do that.
Yeah, there's not very many
what the audience
people,
is feeling.
Brian or a Jericho, that can call things, or a Moxley who can call things in the ring. A lot of guys are at Wheeler Yuta level, where they're still learning. They're progressing well, but they're not there yet. One of the guys that I've seen, improve a lot has been a guy like Hook, who just, he's just improved. Like, you can just, I think Hook is one of those special talents that I believe he will make his way to WWE and he will be fully ready to be there. And I think it's because we're watching his mistakes happen live in front. We're watching him hit a T-bone suplex on a guy where he shouldn't need to be landing him in that spot in the ring. We're watching him take bad bumps based off of clotheslines and based off of, like, he doesn't take a punch correctly. But then, like, he'll come back the next week and he'll take those exact spots, right? And they're
because he was a blank canvas.
Yes. It's very good. But getting back to the Royal Rumble, I got to be honest with you. Yes, 1992 is possible. It's my favorite Royal Rumble, but it's an emotional importance to me because of my father. But if I can tell you, like, Rumbles that matter to me just as important as that, is I love the 94 Royal Rumble, the Bret the Hitman Hart and Lex Luger both winning, both getting the matches at WrestleMania 10. WrestleMania 10 is top 2 WrestleMania for me ever. I love the entire card. I don't think that there's a single bad match on it. I love the story leading into it. I feel like that was such a great build. Owen versus Bret is, I mean, to this day, it's my number 1 WrestleMania match ever. I'm not even joking. As a matter of fact, I'm guaranteeing this. Tyler and I are going to do a watch along for the WrestleMania 10 match with Bret the Hitman Hart, and we're gonna do it special. Here I'm breaking news right now because I think Tyler will be excited about this.
It's breaking news to me as well, folks.
We're gonna do play-by-play. We're gonna do commentary, and
All right.
watch how you're gonna tell that I've seen this match about a fucking million times.
Yeah, me too.
I know this match so well. It is possibly I've never seen any match in professional wrestling history more than Bret versus Owen WrestleMania 10. It is by far my favorite match ever, and I don't even think it's the best match between both superstars. That's just my personal opinion. I just, for some reason,
You think the cage match is better?
Yeah, I mean, for them individually. Like, I think there are better Bret matches, and I think there are better Owen matches. Like, In Your House 6 with HBK and Owen is possibly my favorite.
You love that
match. Yeah, just absolutely love it. Bret Hart, there are so many matches I could think of. I mean, his Owen Hart tribute match with the Crippler, the Nitro one, not the Mayhem.
No,
that was awful. Which is weird to say that was awful. I loved his very first match with Sting. The way he wins like a slimy way was so unlike Bret Hart. I loved it.
They just whack him with the bat?
No, it's kind of. But then Sting went for a Stinger splash and hit his head on the post.
Okay.
Yeah, it was just so weird. It was just like, oh, I like this.
Halloween Havoc 98, right?
Yeah, it kind of keeps Sting strong. Yeah, Bret Hart versus Diesel when he finally ends Diesel's 356-day run. That is one of my favorite matches ever. Just the way he wins the match is just utter perfection. And then obviously your pick, Survivor Series or WrestleMania 13. One of those two matches are Bret Hart's best match ever. It's just that simple. WrestleMania 8, I mean, Bret just has probably thousands of
we could just sit there and all day long. Absolutely.
Yeah, he's just so special, so special. And kudos to Bret Hart for giving us his top 5 workers all time and for naming Shawn Michaels on his list. That is such.
Oh, really? What was his list? I didn't see it.
Oh, his list was himself, Mr. Perfect, Owen Hart.
Yeah. Okay.
Shawn Michaels. Was that 5?
That's only 4.
Who was the 5th
That's
guy?
4.
Who was the 5th guy?
Was it Savage?
No.
Dynamite?
Dynamite, yes. It was Dynamite Kid. Of course it was.
Well,
yes.
I think there's a little bias in that list, but it's really hard to argue with it too because they're all phenomenal.
He actually was very clear that it's a revolving door with his list. He was very clear that, that it constantly changes based on evolution of professional wrestling and stuff like that. But those are the guys that when he broke it down, those are the 5 greatest ever. Another Royal Rumble that I love. Go ahead.
You know what I love? Who's Mount Rushmore? I loved when they asked him about it. Seth. Exactly, because he did it. He's like, okay, well, as far as drawing money, it's these guys.
Mm-hmm.
And in ring, it's these guys, and it's like, yeah, it's different. And depending on what you watch wrestling for, that matters.
Yeah, I agree. Let's
go ahead now.
What I was gonna say is, and then we'll touch on some of these comments here sent by From the Dungeon. One of the things that one of my favorite Royal Rumbles, I believe that a Royal Rumble can be good up until the ending, and then the ending can just make it legendary. The 2005 Royal Rumble, the mistake that turned into a special moment with John Cena and Batista, special Royal Rumble to me. Such a good match.
I really like that one as well.
Yeah, I love it. I was very happy. I was at that time was a huge Batista fan, was not a big John Cena fan, never really was. It was really hard for me to root for somebody from Boston. During that time in my life, I would never root for somebody from Boston. So let's see here. Hook is a cruiserweight. That's it. What do you think he's going to be the next heavyweight champion, Macho, like Sami Zayn? No, I think Hook is thicker. I think he's taller than guys like MJF and Adam Cole. I think he looks more like a professional wrestler than those guys. And I'm not saying he'll be as good as them in the ring, but I believe that he has a better shot to be the future of AEW than a guy like Jack Perry. So that's just my personal opinion.
Is Jack Perry even still in AEW?
I have no idea. I thought that
I
was
know
just
he
a
went
work.
on. Yeah, I don't know, and nobody's really said.
Yeah, yeah, that's true. There's no reason to deny this.
Yeah, you can't really argue with that. But he can be that and still be amazing at what he did.
Agreed. No, I believe she's retired from WWE. I don't think she's doing anything in the Rumble. I don't even think she's even a rumor. She will not be there. She's too big a name to just come out and have somebody toss her over the top rope. So no, I don't believe she'll be there at all. Yeah, that's kind of how I feel about that.
I know you picked Nia Jax to win, and I had an interesting thought about her earlier this week. I went to bed and I put on Pluto TV has a
This is
TNA
a
channel.
EG show.
Pluto TV has a TNA channel, and they were showing Awesome Kong versus Gail Kim.
Nice. That sounds like
And
a banger.
my thought was they should put her in a room and make her watch that match on loop and see what Kong does, and then she could just be one of the all-time greats.
See, I'm of a different mindset. I was having a conversation on Friday with Patty, and we were talking about Nia, and this is my thought. The Nia that has come back since she's been fired is not the same Nia that was there when she was fired. This Nia Jax came back more proficient in the ring, better on the microphone. She lost a little weight, so she looks smoother. And she's natural heat. This is Dominic, like Mysterio level heat. No one garners this heat. And here's the thing. I do not believe that she is as unsafe in the ring as she used to be, because if she was, they would not be using it in promos. And Becky has mentioned it 2 times. So that leads me to think that she has gotten better in the ring. That is something that, and when I watch it, like, yeah, sure, Stevie Richards pointed out that she slipped and she landed on Rhea, and Rhea's the face of the division, so that could have been ended really poorly. But since that, find me a Nia Jax mistake. She does not have one. She has been really good in the ring. She has been, obviously, Awesome Kong is a special talent, so we're not going to compare her to Awesome Kong, but she is her own person. And, given this second opportunity, I've been very impressed. I've actually slowly but surely become a big Nia Jax fan. I'm happy with what I'm seeing. She's not the old Nia. I love the story being told with her and Becky. I love that Becky, that mattered to me too as a wrestling fan. As someone who's been backstage at certain wrestling events, as someone who has actually had conversations with pro wrestlers, knowing that Becky went out there and took a clean loss to Nia Jax felt to me like, knowing what we know about Becky Lynch, and I feel like I will get confirmation in March when her book comes out, because I feel like this is something that she possibly does in real life. I believe that was a call that Becky Lynch possibly had a hand in.
Right. Because she's an absolute pro.
Yes, she is a pro's pro. She is all about putting over people. She's all about getting other talent ready. And I mean, I know a lot of people hate Nia. I believe that some of them are for the wrong reasons. Now, if you hate her character, like the way you personally hate Roman Reigns or something like that, like, that's a different story. Like, you're just around too much. You're just like, you're not my cup of tea. Like the way I feel about Maxwell, like that's absolutely acceptable. But for you to hate her based on the way she looks, well, you're an asshole. For you to hate her because you think it's nepotism, well, you don't know shit. You've never booked a show in your life, and you don't know how important she is. So, You want to complain about nepotism? Complain about Ava being on SmackDown last night, being the new NXT general manager, getting that push. Now that Daddy's
That's a little weird.
back in the fold.
That is a little weird.
But she's
so
gorgeous, so it's okay. Well, I'm good watching her on my screen.
I do have to ask because of a few comments you've made lately.
Mhm.
I know he lives locally, so I gotta ask: did Adam Cole like show up and take a piss on your porch or something?
No, I am
Because
very
you seem to have turned on him here recently.
no. What I'm a little annoyed with the fact that Adam Cole is supposed to be a pro, and the fact that he has. I just think it's odd that the way the inmates run the asylum over there, they have like they're literally running the same exact Christian story. Like, I don't see a difference. They're so parallel to each other.
Adam
And
Cole's talking about people's dead dads.
no, that is a certain part of the story. That is a certain characteristic that sets Christian apart. But the story itself is about you will hand me your title. I am the leader of this group, and you must go through all of them to get through me. And you may not even get an opportunity to come to me. And it's like, hey man, that's the same shit. Like, I don't need to be told the same exact story that the devil is pretty much. Then you might as well have just made Christian the devil, because he's better at it than Adam Cole is. What Christian's doing is better than anything he's done his entire career. This is the best version of Christian we've ever gotten. And this man,
I agree with
was
you there.
like we're talking about a former world heavyweight champion, 2-time, a multiple-time Intercontinental champion. We're talking about a TLC winner. Like, he stole WrestleMania 16, him and Edge and the Dudleys and the Hardys. The amount of times that they stole stuff. No, but what I would like to say, since you bring that up, I would like to ask you a question.
Okay.
Are you with me, or are you against me on this fuck you Jeff Hardy tour that he's been rocking lately? Because this version of Jeff Hardy looks very much like the WWE champion.
I love it. I haven't seen the match.
The people crying about it.
I haven't seen the match against Swerve yet. I'm going to watch it today because we were on air at the time. But the match last week with Darby, I mean, let him have. Hopefully, he does have one last real good run here, because it's been a rough couple of years for him. So it's nice to see him, succeeding and engaged, and
Yeah, I would love it if he beat Samoa Joe for the world title. That would be great. I mean, I love what Joe's doing. I think he's the best.
I don't know if we're going to go that far.
Well, what I'm saying is, I feel like he's never really gotten the opportunity to just be a world champion. And right now, this is like one of the issues that I have with the new wrestling fans is, he did the Poetry in Motion with Matt, and he slipped,
right? Yeah.
And immediately people were like, he's got to go, he sucks. Like, it was a slip. You've never been in a ring, you don't know how slippery shit is. Like, it was one fucking mistake, and now you're trying to say that he's just been a bad wrestler this entire time? Are you crazy? Like, this dude, some of the best talent ever.
Yeah, and I don't think that's the case. Even in AEW, I don't think that's the case. Like, they had I know you don't like these guys, but they had a match, I think it was a couple years ago at Double or Nothing. They faced the Bucks, and I was expecting it to be terrible.
Mm-hmm.
And it was really good.
Yeah, I mean, of course, the Bucks are going to go all out. That's their favorite tag team ever. Like, you could tell there's a lot, of stuff. What I will say is, I didn't think this Jeff and Matt thing here. What I will say is, I didn't realize that Matt would actually age worse than Jeff did with all of Jeff's stuff. Like, Matt does not look good in the ring.
Yeah, I think he could be cooked, but he's had some injuries to like hips and stuff, right?
Yeah, he does have like
the
bow legs and stuff. Like, the way he can't even bend over properly. Dude, just go home
and something that prevents him, right? There are worse things.
I don't
Um,
understand. She seems like such a
doesn't he have
loyal,
something that
amazing woman. Just go home to her, bro.
stops? Doesn't he have something that stops him from training properly too, like with his stomach?
Maybe.
Isn't that?
Um,
Remember, he got like a little. Far be it from me to call anyone fat, but he got a little chubby there for a while, and they were calling him Fat Hardy.
I mean, I don't care. Guys get
Well, I
chubby.
don't care either, but I'm just saying, like, if that could affect him, and that could possibly cause him to deteriorate or decline at a faster rate than others. Also, he's friggin' what is he, like 45?
Yeah, he's the older brother. Yeah. I don't know. I just feel like what Jeff is doing right now has been really phenomenal work inside the ring. So before we go, why don't we talk about our all-time favorite Royal Rumble non-Royal Rumble match? What is your favorite match in a Royal Rumble pay-per-view that isn't the actual match itself?
Oh, wow. What was the one you picked the other night on Working the Marks?
I picked Kurt Angle versus Chris Benoit.
Yeah, that's it. I didn't take it because you did. It's that, and then I also love the main or the title match from the next year with Triple H and Shawn, the double count out last man standing.
Oh, I like that. Okay. Yeah, I feel like that Kurt Angle versus Benoit match is one of the greatest matches I've ever seen. I mean, it is so good. And for me, I went back and watched that match after listening to Kurt Angle talk about it on the podcast, because up until I listened to him talking about it on the podcast, that wasn't even my favorite match between the two men. I'm a really big fan of the 30-minute submission match. I know not a lot of people love that match, but me personally, I love the 30-minute submission match. I thought it blew Jericho and Benoit's Iron Man match out of the water. They're like,
Yeah, I remember it.
yeah, I'm just such a big fan of that style of professional wrestling. I wish we would get more of that. Um, I would like to say one thing before we go. I would like to say one thing, and then I'll let you wrap, and then we can get out of here so we can get ready for tonight. Uh, the Joker once said, "I'm not a monster. I'm just ahead of the curve." Uh, I have jumbled that up a little bit in my life, and I've said, "I am not crazy. I'm just ahead of the curve." And the reason I say that is because about 5 months ago, I made a very bold statement on our podcast. Very bold statement. And I made this comment on the Working the Marks podcast too. And literally everybody thought I was nuts. Told me that I was losing my mind. If I can go back and tell you what the comment was, it is that when the time comes, Trick Williams will be bigger than Carmelo Hayes. Well, Trick Williams debuted on SmackDown last night, and I am
Bigger as in
challenged
larger, or
as in a bigger star. And I would like I challenge everyone who listens to our podcast and who watches our podcast to go watch SmackDown last night. Tell me when there was a moment since Carmelo Hayes has been coming up to the main roster that he has gotten that level of reaction. That place was so loud, you couldn't hear the commentators over the whoop that trick. Trick Williams getting a live pop like that on a SmackDown, on a go home SmackDown, to me, to come to Carmelo Hayes' defense. I don't think there's anything in wrestling where I've ever been more proven right before, and I'm just happy
let me
about
ask
it.
you this.
Mhm.
Let me ask you this: was it a surprise appearance?
They were chanting for him before he came out. they were screaming for him as Grayson Waller and Austin Theory were beating down Carmelo Hayes. So I don't know if it was a surprise.
So Carmelo needed to be saved.
Yes, of course, because he always does. He's seriously like 2 foot tall.
Oh my God, you're gonna be on that again?
Well, he's just.
What is your issue with height?
I don't know, bro. But when you're the same height as the guy who steals Jim Carrey's wife and Me, Myself, and Irene, I don't know what to tell you. Like,
this isn't basketball.
I'm pretty sure Carmelo Hayes was Billy Bob Thornton's elf in Bad Santa. Like, I don't know what to tell you. They're the same height.
That's fucked up.
I'm just,
that's
when I watch
really messed up.
I'm gonna be serious for a moment. I just see star power.
If I can be serious for a minute.
Yeah. I just think Trick Williams reminds me a lot of Booker T. Probably more than anybody else, my love and fascination for Booker T. I feel like he's one of the greatest ever. And yeah, man, I just think he's super talented. I think he's great on the mic. Carmelo Hayes is not. He's very generic on the mic. I'm not saying Carmelo is not amazing in the ring. He is amazing in the ring. But I just don't know if he has all the other tools. Like Braun Breaker has more tools than him. He's showing more character now than Carmelo Hayes is the same exact character he's been for 3 years. Braun Breaker
did have a really, really funny segment on NXT this week.
That's what I'm saying. They're letting him come out of his shell, and it's like, hold up. Like, this is what people have been screaming for with you, Braun. And now you're giving it to us. And it's like, whoa, this is pretty cool.
But I gotta give Baron Corbin some flowers for that one too.
I believe that's why he's in NXT, to do things like this.
Yeah.
Like, they are so brutal. And I gotta tell you, as a big Roman Reigns fan, I gotta be very honest with you. The day Braun hits that spear on Roman Reigns, I'm gonna lose my shit. That spear looks like the most brutal thing I've ever seen. It is so crazy. But once again, his match on Tuesday night, their tag team match to make it to the finals of the tournament of the Dusty Classic. I have never been more sure of anything in my life. Braun Breaker is just a better in-ring performer than Rick and Scott Steiner. Like, he's just better than his dad and his uncle. Like, I don't think they've ever been this clean in the ring. I don't think they've ever been this safe in the ring. I believe that he took everything that he learned from Rick and Scott, and he said, I'm going to use all of your moves, but I'm going to go over here, and I'm going to do it in a way in which, like, it doesn't look like I hurt people. I use right ring positioning and things like that. What does it say here? Macho, you're too much of a face. You need to turn the talent. Taylor, toe a heel. Why do you? How am I too much of a face? Because I just said Braun Breaker's better than.
How are you the face of this podcast?
I don't believe I am. I talk shit all the time, especially.
How are you the baby face? I don't. That in itself might turn me heel.
Yeah, that's the weirdest thing ever. I'm definitely the heel on our show. Like, I don't think there's anybody that berates AEW the way I, because I like every wrestler. That's what he said. I don't like every wrestler.
I don't know about that. I think Fernando is right up there with you, buddy. What did he call me? A neck beard the other night?
Oh, yeah. I thought I was getting really excited. You guys should go watch the last episode of Working the Marks, because Tyler and you
it was so much fun.
Tyler about had enough. He actually called him out for taking cheap shots. I loved it. I was like, me and Patty were just dying.
You guys just needed popcorn. Yeah, I'll preface it by saying I love the guy, but like,
I'm pretty sure that I used
poking the bear.
Yeah. It's funny. I'm pretty sure I used my son's wrestling buddy of The Rock to cover the fact that I couldn't stop laughing. Like, I was dying.
Buddy, it didn't hide anything. You and your pirate hat, Paul Burchill up there in the corner.
Oh, dude, I love it. That's what.
Yeah, you guys need to check out Sparrow. You guys need to check out the Tuesday night shows as well, because they're a little bit more for an adult audience.
Yes, absolutely.
As my stepdad said to me last night, fuck is pretty much just an adjective, Patrick, isn't it? I said, yeah, pretty much.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely.
I called
Especially
him
when
the other night.
Fernando tries to bring on political shit.
I called my stepdad the other night, and I heard something about the bunkhouse stampede, and I was like, I know that voice. He was watching the show.
Oh, nice. Good.
Yeah.
That's awesome. All right, guys.
So
go ahead.
I do want to say I will not be here next week. I don't know if you're going to go solo or have a someone else, but I'm going to be on the water.
Oh, that's right. You're going on a cruise. Go enjoy yourself. Have fun.
Nice
I don't know if I
Just a
will
little 2-day getaway.
Yeah, I don't know if I'll do a full show or not. I might just stick to the audio version of the podcast, but I think that's just easier to do it on my drive to work and stuff. They're normally
I'll be there with
18-minute
y'all.
episodes.
Yeah, I'll be there with y'all on Tuesday, and I'll be back for the following Tuesday. But I will not be there on Saturday.
Sounds good. Well, to everybody out there, thank you so much for all of the feedback you've given us. Please like, subscribe, and share our video. Our podcast only gets out there by word of mouth. Please go on our Apple Podcasts, Spotify, and Spreaker. Leave us 5-star reviews. It really helps us get out there to more people. We guest host on Working the Marks on Tuesday night, so please go like and subscribe to that show as well. Tonight, we will all be enjoying the greatest wrestling pay-per-view of the year. This is just going to be, it's always the best pay-per-view. That's no hyperbole. Royal Rumble, I think, is everybody's favorite. I don't think that there's very many people that don't like the Royal Rumble. It's so much fun. Let's see if it is year 6 of the women stealing Royal Rumble since the inception of the women's Royal Rumble. And I was looking this up. It wasn't just me that thought this. I believe the women have stolen the show. So let's see if they do it again this year. Everybody agrees the women's Royal Rumble is always the better Royal Rumble. So let's see if the men actually step it up and do something cool, because last year's Royal Rumble was kind of meh until the mini Gunther versus Cody match.
The last two have been really bad.
Yeah.
I will argue that 2021 the men's Rumble was better with Edge winning and Christian returning, but the women's Rumbles have all been phenomenal.
Mm-hmm.
With the exception of the one that Ronda won.
Shut the fuck up.
2022 was just a bad show.
You're just angry because Lesnar and Ronda won. You're so ridiculous.
Yeah, it was. I was very angry. I was one of those people like making the video after the Cody loss that night.
So ridiculous.
But anyway.
Yeah. Well, guys, thank you so much for tuning in. We appreciate each and every one of you. And enjoy Royal Rumble, man. And we're out. And safe travels, Tyler. Safe travels.
Thank you.